The hour of 7 o'clock is upon us. Before I read the warrant article, can we all please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. To the inhabitants of the town of Plymouth, the county of Grafton, state of New Hampshire, qualified to vote in town affairs, hereby notified to vote to meet at the annual town meeting to be held as follows. Annual meeting deliberative session, Wednesday, March 9th at 7 p.m., Plymouth Elementary School. So that's why we're here tonight. A couple things I would like to do before we get started is I would like to draw your attention to pages 124 through 126 in your town report, which is how both Quentin and I run our meetings, that describes that you all understand that I am a facilitator. You have the right to overrule me anytime, any of my decisions, and I encourage you to if you feel that I've done something inappropriately. I do have the results of the elections. I don't have the complete results of your elections yesterday. I only have the winners' totals. I don't know why that's what I ended up with tonight, but I will share those with you. For selectmen, top voter was William Bolton with 321 votes and Neil McIver with 306 votes, and I declared them duly elected last night. Town clerk, Josie Irwing, 455 votes. I declared her elected last night. Linda Buffington, 532 votes. I declared her duly elected last night. Jenny Tebow, cemetery trustee, 518 votes. I declared her duly elected last night. There were multiple write-ins for trustee of trust for a 3-year term, 2 of them. There were, the top vote getter was Kevin Lincoln, followed by Mark Halloran, followed by Amanda Conway, and somebody will have to figure out whether they accept the jobs or not. I'm glad it's not my job. And for library trustee, Ann Petro, for 493 votes, I declared her duly elected. The articles, Article 2, zoning, passed 427 to 117. Article 3 passed 383 to 153. Article 4 passed 426 to 123. Article 5 passed at 407 to 132. The results of the Plymouth School Board, Stephanie Halter won the 3-year term with 290 votes, and she was declared duly elected by moderator Quentin Blaine last night. Quentin Blaine, for moderator for 2 years, 518 votes. He got to declare himself elected. School District Treasurer, Susan Jane Clay, 523 votes. And for School District Clerk, Susan Jane Clay, 522 votes. Somebody didn't like her as much as a clerk as they did as treasurer, and she was duly elected last night. The Plymouth results for the Plymouth Pemmy-Baker Regional School District. This is not the whole district, it's just Plymouth's votes. Paul Pizzario was 382 votes. Sam Brickley was 394 votes. For Plymouth is Greg Aprilio, how do you pronounce his name? Aprilio was 381 votes. And Paul Cotty was 371 votes. Bernice Sullivan, 278 votes. And Quentin, for moderator, had 478 votes. The articles, and this is the articles, this is the whole district. There were 1,877 yes, 280 no. It passed. School Board Contingency Fund was 1,795 yes, 375 no. The Collective Bargaining Agreement was 1,563 yes, 685 no. The operating budget was 1,531 yes, 689 no. And so all of the articles passed. And for Water and Sewer Commissioner, Paul Sansuzi, 275, and Quentin Blaine for moderator, 295, and they were duly elected and declared last night. Before I start the articles, I'm going to turn this over to the chair of the board for comments.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. First of all, I want to thank the voters in the town of Plymouth for electing me to what might be my final term on the select board. Thank you very much. And if you grabbed a copy of the budget from the table holding the town reports, you will see the addition of column E, which shows what...
What's that? Yes.
Pardon me?
Hold the microphone closer.
Man. I'll just lean into it. So you'd probably see the addition of a column E, which shows what the original requests were that were submitted by each department. The board spent a lot of time reviewing these requests and met with the departments at several work sessions. And based on the recommendations made by the town manager, and after asking many questions of department heads, the board agreed upon the numbers that are shown in column F. The budget being voted on tonight began with $2.8 million more than the final version. That's a $5.61 per thousand impact on the tax rate. Out of that $2.8 million of additional monies requested, $1.4 million was capital reserve requests. An additional $793,776 was cut from the general operating budget for departments. Over the years, in an effort to keep the tax rate from going up, departments had to cut their budget requests in an attempt to remain level funded. A few years ago, the public was advised that we could not continue down this path. The town has put on hold the much-needed infrastructure work and equipment purchases. And with rising costs, budgets have had to increase in order to keep and hire help. Wages have had to be more competitive with other towns surrounding us. And the town recently did a wage study, wage and salary study, to determine where our employees were in comparison with other towns of similar size. When the survey was completed, it was found that many of our employees were below even the lowest range of the study. So the board reviewed everything and made a determination to place employees at least at the beginning of their range. This increase amounts to an estimated $532,000 for wages and benefits, with insurance projected at a 5% increase. Additionally, this year we were budgeting for a 53rd pay period week. The dollar amount of the additional week is estimated at $104,000. We have a good and well-deserving group of employees who work hard to maintain the services the town has come to depend on. Departments will be looking for ways to bring in more revenue and to keep costs as low as possible in an effort to keep the tax rate from increasing further when it comes to the tax rate setting time on this proposed budget in the fall of this year. We have had to find creative ways to make Plymouth a more affordable community for everyone. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to start with Article 6. This is a Keno petition article. Shall we allow the operation of Keno games in the town? Is the petitioner here to address this article? Step to the microphone, please. I need to have you move it first, and we'll get a second, then we'll discuss, okay? Just move Article 6.
Move.
You want to move the article? Do I have a second? Second. I have a moved and seconded, which allows discussion. Would you like to address the article, please?
Yes.
Address your, please, whenever you speak on the mic, whoever it is, please address everybody by letting us know your name.
So, my name is Dave Chapman. I own the Lucky Dog Tavern in Plymouth. Some know me, some do not. I have 2 children in the school district. Between my partners and I would say we pay about $150,000 in taxes in this town. I think this is the only thing up for discussion tonight that is not asking anyone to say, give me money. So Keno is a game played only at liquor establishments, at bars, restaurants. It also, all the money goes to the education fund for New Hampshire. 8% does go back to me, but that 8% will go back to you guys and the state with my rooms and meals tax. So it actually doesn't affect anyone unless you come into my restaurant or someone else's restaurant and play it. Some people say, oh, gambling. Center Harbor has it, Lincoln has it, Woodstock has it, Portsmouth just voted it in this year. It was on the ballot one time in 2018. It didn't pass. There was a lot of discussion. One of the leading discussion people is not here tonight. They were actually homeschooling their children. At that time, if you had Keno in your town, all that money that went from that Keno went straight to kindergarten in your town. So when it was voted down, Ms. Casarino and that kindergarten class lost a crap ton of funding. So it doesn't really affect anyone, but it does bring in revenue towards education in this state. It also, will increase rooms and meals in my restaurant that I'm actually giving back to the community. I coach sports in this town. I know a lot of the children in this town from sports, lacrosse, hockey, and my restaurant, my family, we donate a lot of time, a lot of money. The Mug in Center Harbor donates 12.5% of their gross income at the end of the year from Keno back to a college fund. What we want to do is we want to donate 5-10% of ours to the Plymouth Junior Panthers. We already donate a lot of money to them, but that'll increase their budget, increase the playing, increase everything like that. Any questions?
Any further discussion? Go ahead, Mr. Tucker.
What exactly is Keno?
Short version, think of a scratch ticket, live. So it's, you come in, you purchase a ticket, there's a little screen in the corner, and it's like a scratch ticket, but it's like a live version. So while someone's having a cocktail, having a burger, they can play a little game while they're doing it. It's just another way to increase. So COVID hurt us, obviously, and then now we're back, but now with Main Street shutting down, that's just gonna be another way for people that are from Massachusetts that know Keno's and everywhere in Massachusetts. Another way from other towns, instead of going up to Lincoln, Woodstock, going to Center Harbor, they may stay local. They may not, but it gives me the opportunity to bring more people into my restaurant. It's worth a shot for me.
Any further discussion? Go ahead.
Good evening, Patrice Scott. I just feel like I need to bring up something. The last time this came to the floor, I don't see my neighbor that raised a very good point. She was a nurse, and she brought up the fact that gambling, just how deleterious behavior it can be for many people. And I would urge us to vote this down. We have enough addictive behaviors in our town without adding another one. And I'm sorry, I just think it's something we don't need in our little small town.
Any other discussion? Go ahead.
Yes, I have a question.
Can you come to the microphone, please? State your name. At least I knew, Patrice. I couldn't see you from there. Now I can see.
Chris Mumford. What are the entry hurdles for restaurants and any liquor establishment to offer Keno? And how many people how many of our establishments here in town do you think will?
Use the microphone, please.
So it could be anyone with a liquor license is eligible. The study they found is that 1 out of every 10 establishments may or may not get it. Portsmouth and Manchester, they're obviously bigger. In Manchester, it was 1 out of 10. UNH just did a study, and they actually studied the Massachusetts State Lottery because it's the biggest Keno in the country. There was no extra crime. There was no extra addiction. It's literally a scratch ticket. And UNH did a study on it. You can Google the study if you like. But all I'm here to say is, it's worth a shot for the town. It's worth a shot for me. And it doesn't really affect anyone unless you're in the restaurant.
Go ahead.
So my name is Mike Ahern. I'm really not, I think it could be good. I think it may not be good. I'm just not sure. I think it would be great to have more discussion with the town. the townsfolks. I do know from our discussions in 2018, when I was on the select board, that there was a question about where the actual money was going. Was it going to the state budget? It wasn't going directly to our town. It would go to the state, and then the state would determine how much was going to go into the kindergarten fund. This wouldn't be in addition. It would be whatever they make their budget, as I understand. So it may not have any effect on school funding.
So 92% goes into the state school trust fund for the education system. There's towns like Woodstock that don't get any of that funding. They get zero funding from the state. We in Plymouth, we get funding from the state. What they do in that trust fund is it's all based on how many students, it's based on disabilities, it's based on what the school department needs, and that's how they put their funding out there. But it went 100% to kindergarten when it started. Back in 2018, it went all to kindergarten. Now it goes to the school departments. You know, people may not like gambling, people may not like drinking, people may not like going outside, but it's something, you know, that I think every establishment should have the right to do, just like a gas station you walk into and you can buy a scratch ticket. Why can't I, as a restaurant, sell a scratch ticket at the same time?
Any other discussion? Yes.
Brooke Wakefield. I'm just wondering what you predict the impact will be for you in the first year, rooms and meals tax, and how that would affect the town.
The only thing I can compare it to is the mug in Center Harbor. He has had no downfall in business. He's had no repercussions with liquor license violations because of it. He alone put his daughter through his first year of college just from Keno. It was $42,000 in revenue that he increased. And now he has people that come day after day, week after week, tourists that go, I'm gonna go there. After he made that $40,000 the first year, that's when he decided, okay, I'm gonna actually build a fund and put it towards someone's education. So for us, it could be $5, it could be $5,000, it could be $25. We don't really know, but we are looking at any other avenue of revenue with Main Street being shut down and a lot of our tourists next year and the summer after going elsewhere.
Is there any further discussion? Are you ready for the question? Yes. All those in favor of Article 6 will signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, nay.
Nay.
It is not clear to the chair, so we will have a standing vote. All those in favor will stand and remain standing until you've been counted. Supervisors, can you take a section? Supervisors, can you take a section? Come on. Does this have to be by ballot? Yes or no? All right. I wasn't informed of that. Okay, sit down. Sit down. Come on, Bob. All right. This is by secret ballot. So everybody got a yes or no ballot. Even me.
It's a petition on it. All petition articles supposed to be by ballot.
Is it empty? It is. Right. True.
Put in a yes or a no. You have to teach the other half, so be careful.
You can grab water at the end. It's like a bucket of ice.
Or if it's one vote short of the way I think, I could put it a tie so it doesn't pass. Just so you're aware. All right, we're going to move on to Article 7. We'll get the results of Article 6 as soon as possible. Article 7, here's the long one.
Mr. Morehead,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we cut the total budget by 5%, not
You're out of
including-
order. There is no motion on the floor.
I'm making the motion.
You can't. I start with the article. You can amend the article.
I want the whole budget. I'm making a motion on the
It's out of order. Out of order. Yeah, you can ask for, everybody who want to vote on whether he's out of order or not. That's fine with me. All those that want to allow him to make that amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay? Nay. Thank you. I'll go on. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $6,699,814 for fiscal year 22-23 general government and department expenses as follows. Salaries, fees, and expenses, Selectman's Office, $421,125. Election, registration, vital statistics, Town Clerk's Office, $164,312. Financial Administration, $373,701. Reappraisal of property, $70,000. Contract services, legal and other, $209,912. Planning and zoning, $205,651. Land use enforcement, $26,811. General government buildings, $61,000. Cemetery, $63,906. Miscellaneous insurance, workers' comp, liability, and unemployment, $203,210. Advertising and regional associations, $6,253. Emergency management, $40,803. Police dispatch, $533,843. Fire department, $1,590,330. Ambulance, $152,069. Airport, $7,664. Recreation programs, $434,537. Recreation parks and grounds, $298,664. Library, $524,432. Care of the trees, $7,000. Patriotic purposes, $4,700. Other cultural and recreation, $12,100. New Hampshire Humane Society, $6,500. Health officers, $10,000. Welfare officer, $12,929. Welfare vendor payments, $70,000. Recycling solid waste disposal, $539,750. Pemmy Baker Solid Waste District dues, $4,709. Infrastructure bond payment number 7, approved in 2016, is $214,882. Infrastructure bond payment number 2, approved in 2020, $285,000. Library expansion project bond payment number 12, $136,971, and Conservation Commission, $7,050. Select Board recommends passage. Do I have a motion? It has been moved. Is there a second? Second. Been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Go ahead. I was called Mr. Tucker, but go ahead. You're up there.
I would like to move then that we cut this budget by 5%, not counting wages and benefits.
I need to have that written in writing so I can have it, so we can bring it up here as an amendment. Is there a second to that? Is there a second? Second. Or it's been moved and seconded. Okay, I need to have it in writing to come up here as an amended article. Is there any discussion on the amendment?
Katie Hedberg. I am standing in opposition to this amendment. It's ridiculous. You've done such a really good job managing our finances and keeping this town running on a shoestring, and I think we should keep the budget as proposed. Thank you.
Any other discussion on the amendment? John?
Can I amend the amendment?
I'd like to have the amendment in writing first. Why don't we get through the amendment, and I'll give you another opportunity to make another amendment if you so choose. Not you. Go ahead.
Valerie Scarborough, and I also object to this amendment. I think that the town right now is doing everything they can to keep the employees we've got. We are working hard to be competitive with other towns of similar size, and we are definitely at risk of losing people if we cut the budget, especially when it comes to wages and benefits. So I think the amendment is totally foolish.
Any other discussion? Anybody? Okay, go ahead. Yeah, first time, yeah.
Danielle Downing, just a clarification. What I heard the motion was that it be cut to 5% with the exception of wages and benefits.
That is what was said, and I would have repeated that. Okay? Go ahead. Hey, come on. Wait for me to call on you. I'll give you plenty of time. But everybody else gets to go because you've already spoken.
Brooke Wakefield, I'm wondering, I'm also opposed to the amendment, but I'm wondering if the town has appropriated enough money or budgeted enough money for the rise in fuel costs.
Rising fuel costs is what she asked. Is there any other discussion? Now you may speak, because nobody else is asking to speak.
Okay, my taxes went up huge amounts of money last year, along with everybody else's, I'm sure. This year, when you get to the whole budget, they're going to go up again as much as they did last time. I mean, it was a 10% increase in my taxes. We have, you know, for 17 and 18 and 18 and 19 and 19 and 20, the most that the taxes went up were $2.89. And then in 2021, it was 30 cents increase in your tax. In 2022, it was a $2 increase, and this year it appears to be a $2.04 increase in your taxes. Figure out the valuation of your house and multiply it by $2 a thousand, that's what it's going to go up. The town is being taken over by the nonprofits that are in this town, and we cannot continue to go on this path with the amount of revenue that we're losing and what we're spending. It just, you're pricing the whole thing completely out. So I'm really, to save money on your taxes, you're going to have to do something. At some point, we're going to have to bite the bullet and stop spending so much money.
Is there any further discussion?
My name is Ursula Askins-Huber. I live on Yetton Road. And while this request seems very reasonable, you have to bear in mind that a lot of these associations that have to use our money have expenses that cannot be cut. So it makes it very difficult to find ways to cut money. Any of you who are business owners know that there is overhead. There are electric bills to pay. There are, you know, fees that have to be paid, contracts that have to be paid. Even though it looks like a good idea on the surface, it could really harm our town. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? All right, Mr. Sansouzi, and then you're next.
The only solution to our problem, folks, is a legislative solution. That's the only way you're going to cure the problem. So we can sit here and nickel and dime this thing to death, but they've got to have money to run this town. If you want to go to the legislator and fight with them about the tax exempt status they've given the college and all of these other 503C companies and everything that are in our community, that's where to fight it, not fight amongst ourselves.
Sir, in the back.
Hi, my name is Joe Doobie, and I've been living in Plymouth for over 20 years now. I realize you guys got to hold your budget. I know the highway department could use a little more, and our roads could use some more. Just asking you to take in consideration Most of the people around here don't make a lot of money. I'm here because I'd like to keep my house. You know, I make about $35,000 a year. Right now, you're asking for $5,400 out of my pocket. It's a lot of money. And I haven't even done federal taxes yet. So, you know, you gotta realize there's a lot of people don't make a lot. Sorry, I'm nervous. Never come up like this before. So there's a lot of younger people, you know, still making $10, $12 an hour, making $15, $18 an hour. They can barely make it the way things are. Just keep it in consideration.
Is there any further discussion?
Joan Randall at Plymouth. I agree with that gentleman wholeheartedly. I've been in Plymouth for 77 years. And now I'm seeing the nonprofits take up 60%. And here, who's paying for it? A lot of the elderly people on Social Security are trying to pay for it. So 5% to me does not sound horrible at all.
I don't think it's necessary because I have nobody else that's asking. So I will, oops, sorry. One last one, then I will accept the move the question.
Hi there, David Nash. I would agree that, you know, we all have personal budgets. We all have personal budgets. Nobody's just got an endless budget. And to the point, I'm not sure where we're losing people to other towns comes from. Yep. I'm not sure where we're losing other good people to other towns comes from. And I have a personal budget, and I just can't freely go raise cash from my neighbors and say, hey, I need extra stuff to cover, so I'm gonna ask you for more money. I don't know how many people were shocked by our $30 1,000 raise, but I was, and I'm actually not sure where we stand in the state in terms of our ranking for being one of the very expensive towns to live in. So 5%, I run a business, and when I have to cut a cost, I find a way to do it. So the nonprofits or the other people that are receiving the money will find a way to cut a lousy 5% out of their budgets if they need to. And so I would agree that it's really time to hold the line on our spending in this town. Thank you.
Is it necessary to move the question because it's been moved? Do you want to, yes, no? Okay, then we're not going to move the question, we're just going to vote. And the vote is on the amendment, and the amendment is to reduce Article 7 by 5% with the exception of wages and benefits. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Nay. It's a negative vote, so it brings us to the main article. Is there any discussion on the main article? John Tucker.
I appreciate all the work the selectmen have done, but, and I appreciate the way they've listed the impact on the tax rate for every one of these items, or in the warrant. But I went ahead and added up all of the 0.5 or 20 cents, 10 cents, $2, and it comes out to $14.17. That's the selectmen portion of the budget. Last year it was $12.06. That's a 17.5% increase. Now, Social Security got, I think, a 6 or 7% raise. Gasoline is over $4 a gallon now. Heating oil is over $4 a gallon. I just don't think, being already a high-tax town, that we can afford that kind of increase just in 1 year. So I'm going to take a little different tack, because I think there are some other articles on the warrant that deserve consideration, strong consideration, like the fire department has. I'm going to propose that we cut this budget by 11% and make it $5,962,897.
Give me that number again, please.
$5,962,897.
Okay, I got the number. I just wanted to get the number down. I need to have this in writing too, but I just wanted to get the number down.
And we all know that department heads and the selectmen and finances, it's establishing priorities. And I think if this is a catch-up year, which I kind of got from the chairman when he said it, this is the wrong year for a catch-up year. So I think we should cut this portion of the budget so that we can consider seriously other items on the warrant. Thank you.
Is there a second to the motion? Moved and seconded. So you're simply saying you want to change that total number to $5,964,897. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Are you ready for the question? All those in favor of reducing this budget and making it, instead of $6,699,800, this warrant article, $6,699,814, to change it to $5,962,897. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Nay. It is a vote in the negative, and the amendment fails, which brings us to the main motion. A motion, too. Main motion. Are you ready for the question? All those in favor of Article 7 as read will signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Nay. It's a vote in the affirmative, and I so declare it. Which brings us to Article 8. Full-time fire person and EMS personnel. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $86,678 for the purpose of hiring additional full-time fire EMS employee. This amount is for wages and benefits associated with the position. May I have a motion? Been moved. Is there a second? Discussion. Selectman, do you? Chief?
Mr. Moderator, thank you. This request is a direct result of the services that are requested from the fire department. Last year, we broke a record with call volume with over 1,800 emergency calls. That's almost double from when I started with the same number of personnel on duty, and a dwindling call department. And that's not just in Plymouth. The call department and volunteer services are falling off. Nobody's beating the door down to do this for $15 an hour. In addition, last year we had over 300 incidents where there were multiple calls. That's almost daily, where the duty crew is out and other calls came in. It happened today. 55 of those were answered by other communities. In other words, we were tied up and unable to respond almost once a week last year. That, as the fire chief, that's unacceptable to me, and it should be to you as well. So this person would work Monday through Friday days, which is our busiest period historically during the day. That's when the highest call volume is, number one. Number two, it's also the time when most of our call firefighters are not available, i.e. they're at their regular job. So I would appreciate your support on this. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Morehead.
My name is Dave Morehead. Been a longtime resident of the town of Plymouth. I was a call firefighter. I know what it's like. I was the person that when they had a person out sick, one of the permanent men, hey Dave, can you spend all night with us? Then I'd have to go to a regular job afterwards. That's why the call departments are falling off besides that and the COVID. The personnel that are there are being overworked. We also find them getting sick from COVID. That means that another permanent personnel has to take on extra duty. I'm sure that the overtime that's being paid is far more greater than what we would do by putting on this man in the daytime. I highly urge everybody in this room to understand that these people are our first responders. If we send out an ambulance for an accident, there's got to be a fire truck go with it, okay? So you respond to the ambulance in the daytime, you send a fire truck out with one person on it driving it. Well, he can't run the pumper and run the hose and stuff like that. You need 2 people on each piece of equipment. That's not always available. If we had this person on during the heaviest use time, which you got to understand that most accidents and stuff happen first thing in the morning and on the way home from work and things like that. So we need to think about putting an extra person on staff during the daytime, which is what this proposal does. I highly urge you to consider this as a positive thing. Thank you.
Gigi?
I'm Gisela Estes, and since everybody said how long they lived in town, for me it's 50.5 years, maybe another month already. Anyway, I support this amendment because 4 nights in a row my husband collapsed, and I couldn't help him up, and he couldn't get up. And I called 911, and the people from the fire department were there within minutes and helped him get into bed. And after the 4 times, I had to move him to a different place because it wasn't safe for him or for me any longer. But I'm so appreciative of what you people did to help me. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Are you ready for the question? Yes. Mr. Ken.
David Kent. I couldn't say enough good things about the ambulance service that I received from the town. Absolutely excellent, wonderful people. I had hurt myself badly, and they took good care of me. The reason I'd like to ask a question is, if we add a person, are there not offsetting revenues that would be received if we could go out on these calls that are missing?
So, I mean, obviously, we bill for ambulance services, so yes. And I think I said it in this informational pamphlet, those 55 calls that we didn't respond to last year, somebody else is invoicing those. If we don't transport, we can't bill. And, you know, those calls average $1,000 a pop, so yeah, there's lost revenue when we don't answer the call.
Any further discussion? Are you ready for the question? All those in favor of Article 8 as read will signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Let's vote in the affirmative, and I so declare it. The results of Article 6 was 73 yes and 53 no. Article 6 passes. On Keno.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the vote?
73 yes, 53 no. Simple majority is all that's needed. Article 9, see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $22,287 for the purpose of hiring a part-time employee for the Plymouth Recycling Center. Do I have a motion? Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Who's taking the notes for this meeting? Because I'm having a hard time, because usually in the notes it says who moves and who seconds. You probably don't have any idea other than it's moved and seconded, right? I guess that's okay?
People are announcing their names when they second, but I know everyone else is speaking.
Okay. So if you're seconding a motion, please let her know your name so we can get this correctly. All right? Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Are you ready for the question? Mr. Ahern.
Henry Ahern, just quickly, is this replacing a full-time or just an additional person at the recycling facility?
It's an additional person, Mr. Aaron.
Are you ready for the question? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Vote in the affirmative, and I so declare it. Article 10.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes.
Sorry that I boomed that one, but I move we restrict reconsideration of warrant articles 6 through 9.
Been moved and seconded to restrict consideration Articles 6 through 9. Does everybody understand what that means? To restrict consideration means that later on at the night, we can't go in and say, let's go back to this one and change the way it voted because everybody left. The only way that can be done is that we would have to call another meeting and you'd have another chance to come and vote on it so that you're not blindsided. That's what they called the Midnight Harry law. There was somebody way back long ago, I do remember, Midnight Harry, where at last thing at a town meeting, major things were changed after the majority of the people left. So that's why we do this. Okay, Article 10, collective bargaining agreement. See if the town to vote to approve the cost items. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we do vote on restricting. See, I got so excited about telling you a story, I forgot what I was doing. All those in favor of restricting consideration on the first, what was 3 articles, 4 articles? Articles 6 through 9. Will signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Vote in the affirmative, and I so declare it. Just trying to protect your rights by doing those things. Yes?
I don't know where I should ask this question, so if I'm out of order, let me know.
I'll let you know, John. You know that.
I'd like to ask the selectmen, if we pass this warrant as it is now, pass every item in it, what will be the effect on the tax rate?
That's a fair question.
$2.04.
$2.04.
$2.04 per thousand.
Okay. All right, Article 10.
That is an estimate because we don't control the revenues until the tax rate is set. So we could have additional revenues that would make that less. We could have less revenues that would make that more. But $2.04 is what we would estimate based off all the information we have today.
That's based on the revenue estimates.
Correct, the revenue estimates that you see in this book.
All right. I'll try again for Article 10. To see if the town will vote to approve the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the Select Board and the AFSME Council 93, which calls for the following estimated increases in salaries and benefits at the current staffing level for police and fire employees. Fiscal year 22-23, police $44,553, fire $127,047 for a total of $171,600. Fiscal year 23-24, police $54,810, fire $145,194 for a total of $200,004. Fiscal year 24-25, police $88,323, fire $166,198 for a total of $254,521. And for further, to raise and appropriate $171,600 for fiscal year 22-23, such sum representing the additional costs attributed to the increase in salaries and benefits required by the new agreement over that of the appropriation of current staffing levels paid in the prior fiscal year. And the Select Board recommends this. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Been moved and seconded. Are you ready for discussion? Go ahead, Mr. Randlett.
John Randlett. Mr. Moderator, if we could answer, why is the fire so much higher, Tommy? I mean, you're looking at 127 compared to the police.
Mr. Moderator? Yeah. That is a product of, in the wage study, our personnel were a lot further off the mark.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
And before I got off we had this study before I got off the board. Now, Steve Lefebvre and Alex what they've done over the past 4 or 5 years is when they needed funds, when we were losing police officers, they would come to the select board. They found money in their budget, and we gave them other increases over a period of 4 years. You had not come and talked to us about any increases until we got this big budget. And we're talking about making up for 5 years. And I thought when we were discussing this thing, that we were going to prorate rather than bringing everybody up to speed in 1 year. The police, they did it over a 5-year period and got their officers up, and based on the study, Steve and Alex had these people just about where they needed to be. There was very little increases. But we didn't do it in the fire, and we were saying from a tax implication, I mean, we're sitting there trying to make up for 5 years of back pay. We have people in this town, and maybe you guys don't know them, that are looking at medicine, food, or, you know, okay, I've got a tax lien on my home or my trailer because I can't pay the taxes. And what I'm saying is, I think on the fire section, we should try to take that increment, whatever that figure is, and increase incrementally over 5 years. I mean, like I say, again, I'll say it one more time, Steve and Alex did it. They did it over a 5-year period. There's not a big impact. I mean, we're looking at $44,000 for the police and $127,000 for the fire. And I just don't think, I mean, we need to bring them up, and we need to do it, but to do it in 1 year, I think it's foolish, and I think it impacts, you know, the tax to a larger figure. And that's my opinion. Thank you.
I just wanted to jump. Can I speak?
Recognizing here first.
Thank you. So,
can you pull your microphone closer, please?
I will, yes. This is the collective bargaining agreement, so those questions are actually directed at those who are on the collective bargaining. Chief Morrison actually he's not responsible for these numbers, it's the bargaining group. And actually the largest increase in this for the fire in particular is there was an eccentricity in the contract that the firefighters in this town had. On an average work week, they work 42 hours. And their contract paid them for 40. While we were doing contract negotiations, we didn't feel like that was fair. To have people work 42 hours in a given week and get paid for 40. I'm not sure where in the many years of history that 2 hours somehow got misnegotiated, but our group felt very strongly that they should be paid for the hours that they work. So the reason that the fire departments is so much bigger than the police departments this time is because we made a change in that contract that's paying the firefighters for every hour that they work on the job.
Mr. Morehead?
Could you ask the people sitting up there to identify themselves when they speak, just like we have to?
I'm sorry, what?
Sorry, Mr. Morehead, Zach Terrell, Select Board.
I'm sorry, I thought everybody knew. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Tucker. Mr. Tucker, yeah.
I always have this question every year. Pay raises are usually negotiated with percentages. What is the average percent increase in these raises?
Trying to remember the exact 5. It's different though.
It was 0. 0 for the first year. 0, 5. 1.5. Yeah.
Yeah, so to try to make the impact of the additional 2 hours for the firefighters, in the first year, they're actually accepting a 0% raise. So the bulk of their raise comes from catching up in terms of the salary that they weren't being paid in the past. So theirs is 5%. The police is 2.5, 3.3?
Yeah.
is 2.5% for police in the first year, 3% in the second year, and 3% in the third. And for fire, after the first year, is it 1.5 and 1.5?
I believe so.
I believe it's something like that. So it ends up effectively that extra 2 hours of pay is effectively a 5% raise in terms of costs, right? And their take-home pay. So the firefighters over 3 years get 5, 1.5, they get 8%, right? And the police will get 3, 2.5, 2.5, again, 8% over 3 years.
Mr. Moderator?
Go ahead, Chief.
The other aspect of this is that we're trying to retain personnel. Recruitment and retention, not just here, but nationwide, is a huge problem with fire and EMS. And every time we lose somebody, and we lost 2 key players last year, it costs us thousands and thousands of dollars in overtime and training to get them on board. Our fire captains average 15 years on the job in Plymouth. And not only is there a financial cost, but when you lose that kind of knowledge, when that kind of knowledge walks out the door, it's difficult to replace. So this is also an effort to retain the good people that we have. Thank you.
Would you like to address the floor again, Mr. Tucker?
Well, these raises sound reasonable, but I would just make a comment. I heard someone say that if we don't have good services and good personnel, people may move out. But remember, if taxes get too high, people will also move out. And we don't want to tax people out of their homes.
Go ahead.
I'm Jane Hinkle, and own and operate the T. Rose Inn in Plymouth. We've been here 16 years now. And yeah, I'm not happy about the taxes. A lot of it is living in a town with so many nonprofits, but I'm going to say something. One thing we don't skimp on and shouldn't skimp on is our fire and police. I live on Pleasant Street. It's a circus every weekend. If you were to see the quick response from the fire and the police, you would agree not to skimp on this. I would gladly pay higher taxes for better fire and to keep who we have in police departments. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Are you ready? Yep, go ahead. Yep.
Amy Lee, I wonder, so this collective bargaining agreement was done after you did the town study to be able to bring everybody's up to where they should be, is that correct? I just need clarification on that.
Go ahead.
That's correct.
Okay, perfect.
The adjustments for the wage study are in the general government and department expense increases, and the collective bargaining changes are in the collective bargaining warrant article that we're discussing.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Are you ready for the question? All those in favor of Article 10 as read will signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Vote in the affirmative, and I so declare it. So I don't need Article 11 because Article 10 passed. So we'll go on to Article 12. See if the town vote to raise and appropriate $1,778,199 for fiscal year 22-23 Police Department, and to further offset this appropriation by authorizing the withdrawal of $25,000 from the Police Special Detail Fund. Do I have a motion? Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Discussion. Go ahead.
I'm just Brooke Wakefield. I'm just looking at the income from departments, and I see that in 21, the actual revenues were much higher than what the estimated revenues would be for 21. And then I look at the 2022 projected revenues, and they are much less than the actual. So I'm just wondering, why is that? That's $1 million.
Chief, do you want to address, or who? Who's going to address? I'm sorry. Who wants to answer the question? Go ahead, then.
Just to confirm, Brooke, are you looking at page 144?
I'm looking at the MS 636 on W27. It's under income from departments. So it doesn't, I mean, it would be really nice if you guys separated out the
Which page are you looking at?
Oh, sorry, it's page 7 of 9 in the green.
7 of 9 in the green. I just want to make sure we're looking at.
W1, page W27 in the green section.
That's water and sewer?
That's water and sewer.
Oh, geez, okay. Well, sorry, I missed that completely. What's the anticipated revenue for 2022, and what was the actual revenue for 21? And why did the water and sewer do that?
Because we sell things.
I can't speak to water and sewer.
All right, the town financial person is not a resident of the town of Plymouth, but would like to address. Do I have your permission to allow her to answer the question? Yes. Please step forward.
You would look at the blue section, page 144, page 8 of 9. You'll see that we brought in, the estimated revenue for this year is $4,037,260. Next year is $4,306,343. So we are estimating a little more. The year before was $7 million. That is because of the $2.5 million bond.
Is there any other discussion?
Well, thank you, Ann Hebert.
Yes. Is there any other discussion? Are you ready for the question? All those in favor of Article 12 as read will signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Vote in the affirmative, and I so declare it. Article 13, see if the town vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $105,946 for the purpose of funding for the fiscal year 22-23 Police Parking Department, and to further authorize the withdrawal of $30,000 from the Parking Special Revenues Fund to offset this appropriation. Do I have a motion? Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Discussion.
Thank you, Amy Lee. I wonder with the new kiosk parking that we have downtown, what the benefit of that is, how much do you anticipate for revenue? Because I don't see that anywhere. So I just wonder why we're giving more money to police parking if we have alternative ways to pay for the parking. Thank you.
Are you talking about the Park mobile app?
Yeah.
So the reason for the Park mobile app was because meters cost a lot of money. Kiosk machines themselves cost a lot of money, and you would have to implement many of them. So Park Mobile, it was just signage, right? And then people use the app. And we've been using Park Mobile for about 4 months now. And right now, I just checked this afternoon, and we've collected almost $20,000 in revenue in using it. So it is being used. And when the ground thaws out, we'll actually be putting up more signs. And then once the downtown project is complete, South Main Street will have the signage out there as well.
Any other discussion? Go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to say...
Please identify yourself.
Oh, sorry. Chris Sanborn, 22-year resident of Plymouth. I just wanted to say our departments do an excellent job, and we value everything that they do. Earlier this evening, we passed a budget, I think, $6.7 million, right in this 669. And I do value that a lot of these things we're working on now, warrant articles, are up for people to vote. But I just want to say to people that a lot of these warrant articles are valuable things, that we voted on some of them already. We're talking about taxes and how high our taxes are in this town, and something's got to be done about our taxes. And as taxpayers, this is your opportunity to vote on some of these things. I firmly believe that some of these articles should have been put in your budgets, so we could have voted that on the budget, because I feel that you keep them out of the budget and we're going to vote them in because they're valuable things, and I think that's a bit of an issue, and they are valuable things. But some of these things we need to weigh what are the most important to us as taxpayers. We want our police, we want our fire, and we have to sit down here and say, we're talking about taxes being too high, but you got to take the onus on yourself when you're voting on a warrant article like we are now. And you got to be willing to say, you know, we're going to cut that. If we want to cut taxes, we can't sit here and blame the selectmen for it. They're giving us an opportunity to vote on something to cut our taxes. and not pay that, then we have to take the ownership on us. And if we want to vote it through, we can't really complain about taxes going up, is all I'm saying.
Is there any further discussion? Mr. Tucker?
I missed the police chief's bottom line. Are we saving money and how much?
So this is the parking one, correct?
Parking, yes.
So it doesn't have anything to do with the police, right?
Who handles the parking?
I guess I don't understand your question.
Are you asking the kiosk, the bottom line, is it making us money or costing us money?
You've changed the parking process, right, and how we pay for it, right? Correct?
Right, we use the parking.
Okay,
right.
is it proven profitable? Are we making more money?
Well, it's hard to tell right now because we just implemented it. We've only been using it for 4 months. When today I look, we have almost collected $20,000 in 4 months using just Park Mobile. And that does not include the meters or the kiosk line.
So that's a yes.
Well, it's hard to tell. I mean, it's working. Like I said, we're using it in certain locations. It's not in all locations yet, but it is being used. And I can tell you from the college kids that use it from Langdon Street, High Street, Merrill, those locations, the college kids really enjoy it, and they are using it. And the people that aren't using it are getting ticketed.
Is it true that you can no longer piggyback on someone else's quarter?
Using Park Mobile, you cannot, but if you're paying the meter with a quarter, you still can.
Well, I'm speaking as a proxy for Mrs. Tucker. She usually doesn't get involved, but she was very frustrated and called the police station. So,
is there any further discussion? Yes.
Just had a Dave Chapman.
Please identify yourself again.
Dave Chapman. Just had a quick question. Price increase went from 25 cents to $1 collected at the meters. So 75-cent increase, and now we have pay by app, which is a lot less work for our department to handle. Why are we asking for $100,000?
So the reason for, so the meters that are downtown right now, the physical meters, some of the inserts are not working. And when they reprogram the inserts that are still there, they're programmed for $1, right? And you have to put 4 quarters in before it registers, and that's not fair. We've ordered new inserts for these meters, which when COVID hit, we haven't received them. We have gotten word that these new inserts should be shipping on the 15th of this month, and all the inserts will be replaced, and we've requested that they are programmed so if you put a quarter in, you'll get 15 minutes. So it's still $1 an hour, but you don't have to pay a minimum of $1. So that's fair.
Okay. Go ahead.
Mr. Chapman, another reason that the revenue increase is not reducing this number is because this is the budgeted amount to run the parking department in our town. It doesn't have a revenue offset to it. You would see that in a different section of the budget and our anticipated revenues. So we have to vote on funding the officer, funding the department, funding the costs of parking, separate than the acceptance of the revenue to fund that section. So we would hope that our revenues are going to go up to support this department, but this is a vote for, will we allocate this money to run the parking department?
It would be nice if we had a net number of expenses versus what we would get in income on some of these things. I don't know who's squeaking. But that's the way it is in budgeting for this type of is that we have to raise and appropriate the money, and you could actually end up getting everything back in revenue, but you can't spend the money if you don't raise it. And I think that's the point that's trying to be made here, is that there is income coming in against this number, and this may not affect your tax rate as great as it looks once all the money comes in. But that's how the process works. Any other discussion? Go ahead.
Henry Ahern, just a quick question. How does this compare to last year's? How much of a raise is it over last year's appropriation? I was going to look it up, but.
So it went.
13,300.
Yep.
Okay. Any other discussion? Are you ready for the question? All those in favor of Article 13 will signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. It's vote in the affirmative, and I so declare it. Article 14, Police School Resource Officer. See if the town vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $142,213 for the purpose of funding for fiscal year 22-23 Police School Resource Officer. This appropriation is offset by $106,660 from SAU 48 school system. Do I have a motion? So moved. Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? Are you ready for the question? All those in favor of Article 14 as read will signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Nay. Vote in affirmative, and I so declare it.
Mr. Moderator, Mary Ann Barnsley, I move we restrict reconsideration of warrant articles 10 through 14.
Moved and seconded to restrict consideration on Articles 10 through 14. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Vote in the affirmative, and I so declare it. Article 15, to see if the town will vote to discontinue the 1991 ladder truck CR fund created in 2005. Said funds with accumulated interest to date of withdrawal are to be transferred to the municipality's general fund. Do I have a motion? Second. Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Vote in the affirmative, and I so declare it. Article 16, proceeds from the 1991 ladder truck CR fund. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $14,204 to be added to the tower truck CR fund previously established. This sum to come from unassigned fund balance funds created with the discontinuation of the 1991 ladder truck CR fund previously moved to the tower CR truck fund. Second. Discussion. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Vote in the affirmative, and I so declare it. Fire truck engine lease, 5 years, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to enter into a 5-year lease to purchase agreement of the amount of $732,600 for the purpose of purchasing a fire engine, and to raise and appropriate a sum of $157,641 to fund the first year's payment. This is year one of a 5-year lease to purchase agreement. This lease agreement contains a non-appropriation escape clause. Is there a motion?
So.
Is there a second? Second. Moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
Mr. Moderator?
Yes.
So this is a planned replacement on a 20-year-old truck. Engine 3 is our first truck out the door. And if we order it now, they're telling us it's going to be 20 months, so it'll be 22 years old by the time we get it. This truck is increasingly unreliable. It has been in the shop 11 times in the last 2 to 3 years to the tune of $70,000 in maintenance costs. And that's not going to get any better. And that's way out of line. We usually budget $5,000 to $10,000 per vehicle for normal routine maintenance. So that's way out of line. While I have the floor, I'd like to thank the truck committee who's been working on this since last August. They've dealt with 3 or 4 different manufacturers, looked at trucks all over the state, and that includes former Deputy Chief Jeremy Bonin, Deputy Chief Kevin Pierce, Captain Brian Tobine, Lieutenant Mark McGlone, and Firefighter Driscoll. They've put a lot of time and effort into this, and we appreciate your support. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Jim Horan. Lived in Plymouth most of my life.
Guess so, yes,
And,
you have.
Thank you. So I'd like to speak in favor of this. I'm as shocked as probably more than anybody else because I'm pretty conservative. So I support the passage of this article. I've had the honor of serving the call company on and off for around 20 years. And, you know, one thing is for sure is the reliability and safety of our equipment is paramount. So as our chief mentioned, the equipment's become less reliable, more cost in maintenance. I myself have traveled several times to go pick it up or drop it off for repairs. Safety of our firefighters, our community is paramount, and this equipment is essential for the safety to continue. It's, as he said, 22 years old. I had hair when that truck was purchased, so it's due to be replaced. So I support this, and I hope you do too. Thank you very much.
I had hair then too. Is there any discussion? John?
Mr. Moderator, I would like to know on this lease, will we own the truck after this, or is this going to be a continued lease?
No, we will be the owner after 5 years. We've done this before. Engine 4 was a lease purchase also.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yep.
You know, on some of them, you know, there's a buyout or whatever. It just depends on the type of lease. I just want to make sure, you know, that we weren't going to be spending this and then looking at doing it again.
We make all five payments, we'll own it.
All right. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Sorry, everyone, I'm just getting to know my town. Brooke Wakefield, I'm just wondering, why wouldn't we just bond this article and spread it out over time so that everyone who uses it over the next many years is sharing in the cost? Instead, we're choosing to lease it over 5 years.
We discussed it with the board and the finance department, and we thought it was prudent to do it this way. The rates are attractive, I suppose, either way, the bonds or the lease payments. I believe this one is in the area of 2.4 to 2.6%, depending on when we lock it in. And by the way, there's a price increase on May 1, so hopefully if this does pass, we'll have a purchase order from the board before that date.
That's a very common practice in towns to lease to purchase equipment because there is an escape clause. If you decide not to fund it next year, it goes away. The truck goes away and the payment goes away.
I'm aware of that.
Okay.
My question is not so much about the cost, it's more about spreading out the cost of the total truck for more people than just 5-year block to pay. You could spread it out for longer for more people who are going to be using it over the course of time. So it's not about the cost. I mean, I am in support of this 100%. I'm just talking about a way for it to be more affordable and for more people to share in the cost. That's the only question.
You're going to pay more interest, obviously, if you spread it out, but I see what you're saying.
I think another reason that we went with 5 years is this is not the only piece of equipment that will need to be replaced at the fire department, right? So in 5 years, in 7 years, I'm not sure exactly what the replacement cycle looks like, but you know, we have a ladder truck that we need to replace, we have ambulances that need to be replaced, we have other engines that need to be replaced. So, you know, getting into a 20-year loan on a truck that lives for 20 years, suddenly you're paying on all the trucks all the time. And so we wanted to make sure that it was a period of time that was short enough that we could pay it off and move on to another piece of equipment at some point.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the length of time, but don't we have a capital reserve fund that's supposed to replace this equipment? And I don't see anything in the article about taking money out of the capital reserve fund.
Right, I believe when you lease purchase, you cannot use capital reserve. So the good thing is that will remain for when we replace engine 4. We'll have the option of either a lease purchase or using the money that is in capital reserve now, which is at least half of the cost of that truck is in capital reserve now.
Mr. Tucker?
I'm just curious, what happens to the present truck? Does this include trading it in, or Do we sell it or what?
It does include the trade-in value, which isn't much at that age.
How much is it worth?
I want to say it was 13,000.
That's it?
Yeah, it'll be scrap.
Will you take 12?
Is there any further discussion? Are you ready for the question? All those in favor of Article 17 as read will signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. To vote in the affirmative, and I so declare it. Article 16, to see if the town to vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $1,235,407 for fiscal year 22-23 for the Highway Department as follows. Highway Department, $1,173,407. Street lighting, $62,000. And to further offset the appropriation by authorizing the withdrawal of $25,000 from the Municipal Transportation Improvement Capital Reserve Fund established for this purpose. Do I have a motion? Is there a second? All those, oops, yeah. Discussion. Getting carried away here. Any discussion? Go ahead, Mr. Sanborn.
Thank you. I could be misunderstanding this. I apologize if I am, but so if I'm reading this correctly, I don't see the Highway Department in the budget. So this is basically the Highway Department's budget?
Yes.
I don't understand why this is in the budget. Seems to me like this is something, if it's a budget for the Highway Department, it should be in the budget, so when we vote on the budget, it shouldn't be a warrant article. I don't know.
Anytime we have to withdraw money from one of the capital reserve funds to fund a portion of the budget, then it has to be a separate independent warrant article. So everything else that's in the regular operating budget, it doesn't have any capital reserve funding associated with those budget line items. So we can group all those together, but if we're using a capital reserve budget to offset some of the costs of that department, then it ends up getting isolated. So you can see in this one, the offset of $25,000 from the Municipal Transportation Improvement Fund.
So the offset of $25,000 on a $1.7 million item.
Yeah, sometimes in the past, we've made every department's a separate warrant article, but for expediency, we grouped all of those, but this one's separate. It's the same reason the police was separate.
Okay, I see that. I get your point. I just think as taxpayers, you got to realize that, again, you come back to that $6.7 million budget, but this is another $1.7 million on the budget, on your base budget. And you got to recognize that if you're going to talk about taxes, you got to make cuts someplace. Yes, I see a $25,000 cutoff here for that, but to me, it just seems, it's misleading that it's not in the budget, I guess is what I'm saying for people. And I want them to recognize that it is a budget item. It is a department that we have to fund.
Every article you pass adds up to the total bill. Everybody, I hope, understands that.
And that's represented on page 145. If you want to see the actual base operating budget total appropriations, it is summarized on page 145.
Is there any other discussion? Which one of you guys do I want to give first? Okay, you're up, Mr. Ahern, this time.
I've got a quick question. I realize that the Main Street in Plymouth is still owned by the state of New Hampshire. And I understand that the southern part of the Main Street of New Hampshire, or the southern part of Main Street Plymouth, is going to be torn up in the near future, and there's going to be a lot of work down there. However, is there any way that the town can go down and fill those potholes in front of Rite Aid that I have to drive over every day, even though it's a state property, and then send the bill to the state?
Mr. Tucker, you want to follow up on that one? Go ahead.
This is absolutely the last time I'll come up here. You can get the hook.
Until next time.
The roads and streets in Plymouth, they're deplorable. And I know this has been a tough winter season on them for the potholes. But all summer long, it just didn't seem like anything was done to fill the cracks or repair spots on in the roads. I live on Oak Ridge Road. The last the last 0.2 of a mile are unpaved, and that's by far the best part of the whole road. Thurlow Street, Warren Street, and I know some of these are included in that other article, but I'll ask the Highway Department, do you have a plan for a long-range plan for repairing and upgrading the roads?
Yeah, sure. So I'll start with the potholes. That center strip down the corridor on Main Street belongs to the state. They get calls 2 or 3 times a week. And so when it rains or snows, you're not going to keep that coal patch in there. And coal patch is more than asphalt when you go to buy it. And so we still, like this morning, we filled a big one in front of Biederman's. It wasn't ours, but we had enough concerns and the state couldn't get to it, so we try to work with them. But until all the snow goes away and gets off the roads, that problem's not going away.
Is there any other discussion?
Brooke Wakefield, what roads do you plan to address with this money this year?
So we did Butler Road, half of it last year, and we're hoping with the funds this year to finish Bartlett Road. And then the remainder, we're gonna try to do there's not enough money to do a complete overhaul, but we're gonna try to do some repairs on New Hebron to make it safer. We have a bunch of, so the reason why last year we didn't get much done is because we had these grants come up, and so in order for grants, you have to have funding. So a lot of my budgets were, I'd call them frozen, because we took the funds to offset these projects. So I know it doesn't make a lot of sense to people, but I froze my budget to do that, so we'd save money in the long run to get money from the state to do these projects. So, and I have Pleasant Street and I have Emerson Street all engineered. So, but again, I don't have a plan for money for those streets yet because there's just not enough money put in the budget for these. But as soon as we start appropriating money for these roads, then those are next in line. So Butler Road and New Hebron Road, and we'll probably going to do some sidewalks, just try to get back into some bigger projects.
Go ahead, John.
Joe, I know you got a thankless job and you're doing everything you can. Do you have an idea, if we had to come up with the money, what would it take to fix our roads? I mean, serious. I mean, we talk about this, but they get to a point, and Joe has talked about this before, where you have to, if it goes too far, you've got to take up that whole road and start from scratch. And you know, that's something you really don't want to do, but I mean, you know, we've talked about it when I was on the board, is we don't have enough money to do it. Everybody wants their street fixed, but do you have an amount, or do you have any idea if, I mean, you know, what would the bond be, you know?
Yeah, so if I gave you that figure, I probably wouldn't show up for this meeting.
But I mean, it's something, I mean, you know, again, it doesn't get fixed for free, but, you know, somehow we have to fix them and maintain them better if there's a better way to do the roads.
So here's another thing going on. We're doing we have some surveys being done to a road mapping system for our culverts and our drainage from on the top side and the underside. So it'll give me a list of what I have, which I actually have in my head or on notes and stuff, but we're gonna actually put it in a system. So each year, I'm gonna put together a plan and work on a 10-year plan. So, and the thing is, you can build those 10-year plans, but they always change. But this will give me a better tool, and the public can actually go on that website and see what's going on. And we're also working on we're pushing for a better capital reserve plan.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that will help us also.
But again, you know, I mean, we've lost, and I don't know whether people understand, but between nonprofits, reduction of assessment, we're bringing in $900,000 a year less than we did in 2011 and 2012. So, I mean, we've got to come up, the select board, the people, we've got to come up, I mean, I've been here 17 years and I've seen Highland fixed, and we put between the state and the town, we put $2.5 million in that road. And it is.
And it's ready to be done again.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, you know, I don't know what the answer is, but, you know, go back to everything's dirt, or.
So I'm gonna spend $325,000 this year.
Yeah.
Just to do Butler Road and do part of New Hebron. And we're gonna get Boulder Point's getting overlaid. And so, you know, and if we work on some sidewalks, but, so, realistically, if I had $600,000 a year, that it would take several years to get me where I need to be.
Yeah. Well, and you know, it's been brought up, and it's going to be brought up, I think, again later, but you know, I'm on the board of directors for a nonprofit, but we lease property so our landlord pays. But we don't take anything from the town. We don't take anything from the federal government. We raise our funds ourselves. And this is what we have to do. I mean, when I first started on the budget committee 15 years ago, we were paying $20,000 in nonprofits. And I think this year we're scheduled for 80 or 90, but it's been more than 100 at times. And we just have to,
okay.
You know, I mean, it's great to help everybody, but. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Joe, Jane Hinkle, we talked this morning, thank you. My question is, how do you arrive at what streets will be done? Because I see you've got Emerson Street and Reservoir Road, and Pleasant is one of the most frequently traveled streets, especially now that the college is in season. And I just wondered how the department picks and chooses what roads get done first.
A lot of what's happening in my world right now is the drainage, and so you have to start at the bottom and work up. Because in the past, we've just kind of just overlaid the roads and winged it and hoped for the best. But we started fixing things right. So engineering is a big factor. So to do South Main Street, I had to start and do Russell Street first, because all that water comes down onto Main Street. So that's in the process. Russell, Warren, and Main Street is up and coming, that project. And then after that's done, Pleasant Street will get tied into that. Because I can't do Pleasant Street until I have Russell and South Main Street.
So when can we expect Pleasant Street to be done? Next year? Is that a possibility? I know I asked poor Bill this 3 years ago.
I have it engineered. I just, as soon as the funding becomes available, and some of this is hinged on grants also.
Well, that's what I was, the next question. How much of this do we get in grants? Can we get in grants?
Nothing there yet, so I mean, we're waiting, but in the meantime, we're starting to try to put money in capital for different projects, and so That's just the direction we're headed in.
I know this is a dumb question, I'm sorry. This is my first time at these meetings, but exactly, does the college or any of these nonprofits ever kick in any money for any of this?
So as far as the college, on their side of town, a lot of that, the streets are in good shape.
Or are they just reaping the benefits from our taxes going up?
Because it benefits them. So when we did work on that side of town, they participated in helping us. I wasn't boss at the time, so I don't know how much, but I do know that when we were on that side of town, they were willing to work with us for two reasons: just to get it done and not to tie up the college. So the quicker the better. So.
Yes, okay.
And there was a lot of grants, and all that tied into Main Street at the time.
Okay, thank you for talking to me this morning, appreciate it.
Could I say something?
Yep.
So regarding the college, you mentioned that, doesn't the college give us anything? Well, we have an agreement with the college that's renewable, and it's a life safety services agreement. And I'm sure most people are familiar with that over the years. This summer, we're going to renegotiate with the university for another agreement. Currently, it's around $400,000 as a base, and then they pay for like the events that are covered by our police officers. So they end up paying probably another $100,000. So it's about $500,000 a year. But that doesn't go directly to roads. It just goes into revenue. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Are you ready for the question? The question is to vote on Article 18 as read. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Vote in the affirmative, and I so declare it. Highway garage building maintenance, to see if the town vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $26,000 for repairs to the highway garage building, to authorize the withdrawal of $26,000 from the highway building capital reserve fund created for that purpose. No funds to come from the general taxation for this purpose. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there, second. Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of Article 19 as read will signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Vote in the affirmative, and I so declare it. Article 20, highway...
Mr. Moderator?
Yes.
I move that we restrict reconsideration of warrant articles 15 through 19.
There is a move and seconded to restrict consideration on Articles 15 through 19. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. All that, yeah, it is restricted. I ain't gonna let you do it again. Okay? Article 20, Highway Department truck purchase, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $115,000 for a highway dump truck purchase and authorize withdrawal of $104,966 from the Highway Materials Handling Equipment Capital Reserve account created for that purpose, and the balance of $10,034 to come from general taxation. Do I have a motion? Is there a second? Is there any discussion? All those in favor of Article 20 will signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Vote in the affirmative, and I so declare it. Highway backhoe loader, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $176,000 for the purchase of a backhoe loader for the Highway Department, and authorize the withdrawal of $137,655 from the Highway Heavy Equipment Capital Reserve account created for that purpose. The balance of $38,445 to come from general taxation. Do I have a motion? Second. Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of Article 21 as read will signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Vote in the affirmative, and I so declare it. Article 22, Bartlett Road Phase 2, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $225,000 for the purpose of improvements to Bartlett Road, Phase 2. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Go ahead.
Amy Lee, when I was reading Joe's report in the binder, he said, we had Bartlett Road go out to public vote for 2,000 feet of roadway. The road work was mostly complete this fall, and final paving will be complete in the spring of 2022. Direct quote from you in your report. So you're telling me that it's costing $225,000 to pave that one road?
Well, no, that does the road construction part of it too. We're rebuilding the whole road, we're not just paving it.
So when you said it was mostly complete, that is not a true statement.
So the road has been, the first half has been done, with the exception of the top coat. They're coming back to pave the second coat this spring. And then the next part is to reconstruct the second half of the project.
I saw somebody else's hand. Okay, any other discussion? Go ahead.
Hey, Joe Doobie again. Jeez, I just went blank. Basically, you got New Hebron, Texas Hill Road, all that stuff. It really hasn't been repaired in over 20 years. If we want to fix up the town, have better roads, we need to pick a road, vote on it, fix it every year. The highway department barely gets a budget for anything. They scavenge stuff everywhere. Just filling holes with dry pack, it blows out, it's a waste of money. Fix the road right, get it done. We can vote on a budget every year for a road.
Is there any other discussion?
Yes, I have a comment.
Yep, I'll let you respond first before you ask the question. You may respond first before she asks her question.
Okay, so last year you guys voted to do Bartlett Road, and so the money only took me halfway. So that's why we're where we're at with that.
My question isn't really specific to this, except for that I'm wondering where the fund surplus looks like is $735,000, is that correct? From last year? Or what, here's a, what was the fund surplus? Fund balance?
I'm looking to Ann to see if she has that number handy.
I mean, it's on page 23, I think, is where I'm looking. The unassigned fund balance, which, you know, is the surplus of the expenses that weren't expended. I'm just wondering, because I don't see in our current budget for 2022 fund balance used anywhere to offset any of these costs.
We usually use fund balance at the tax rate setting to offset the tax rate.
But you don't predict that or use that in the budget, right? It's always
No,
at additional.
It's tax rate setting that we use the fund balance.
Okay. So is that a pretty typical amount of our fund balance, or is it vary dramatically?
It does vary dramatically. We actually, a couple of years back, we were down to $72,000 in the unassigned fund balance, and we're trying to get it back. The Department of Revenue wants us to be at, I think, 900,000, and I think right now we're at 600,000.
Okay.
So we're trying to rebuild it, but we do use money from that to help us offset the tax
Do you
rate.
use the full amount? Are we required to use the full amount of that fund balance? So what happens to the remaining fund balance that's not used to offset the tax rate?
Well, it would continue, like I said, DRA wants us to be at, now what did I say, 900,000?
What percent? The state is saying we should be between 9 and 17% of the total budget in that for all budgets. So
Okay, so like 435,000 will be used to offset the budget. I mean, the taxes.
We can use some of that, you know, the board will determine at tax rate setting how much we're going to use.
Thank you.
any other discussion? Are you ready for the question? Question, all those in favor of Article 22 as read will signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Vote in the affirmative, and I so declare it. PBTV equipment, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $10,000 to purchase of PBTV equipment and to authorize the withdrawal of $5,009 from the PBTV equipment capital reserve account created for that purpose. The balance of $4,991 to come from general taxation. Do I have a motion? Is there a second? Any discussion? Mr. Morehead?
Excuse me. What equipment is needed?
I'm sorry?
What equipment is needed?
Go ahead.
So this is for our broadcast machine that broadcasts all the meetings from Town Hall. So anything that's on the channel for Select Board. I'm Andrew Fenn. I'm the station manager.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Any other discussion? Are you ready for the question? All those in favor of Article 23 as read will signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Vote in the affirmative, and so declare it. Article 24, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $164,000 for the purpose of funding the following capital projects for fiscal year 22-23. Landfill monitoring, $10,000. Improve road construction, $125,000. Cemetery tree work, $9,000. Planning Board Capital Improvement Plan update, $20,000. Do I have a motion? Is there a second? Discussion.
Thank you, Amy Lee. Last year, there was a budget of $8,400 for landfill monitoring, and this year it's $10,000. My question is, what is landfill monitoring, and who does it, and why is the cost up?
May I speak?
Yep.
The landfill monitoring is going up because it's just an annual increase. Landfill monitoring includes well testing, water testing, and also gas testing, decomposing gas, methane, mostly.
Does that have to continue every year?
I'm sorry?
Does it have to continue every year?
Yes, it does. It will be forever. Say,
Hi, Phil Lamoureux. If that's a recurring thing that we're required to do, why is it not in the budget? It's not really optional, is it?
It is in the budget.
It's a capital outlay expense. Capital outlay and capital reserves are in a different area.
It's not part of the operating budget for operating the landfill?
It's not part of the general operating budget, it's an outlay expense.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yes. Okay, any other discussion? Come forward. Can't hear you. Oh, yes, that's what we just told her that, so we moved it. Okay, thank you. All right. All those in favor of Article 24 as read will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes.
I move we restrict reconsideration of warrant Articles 20 through 24.
Moved and seconded to restrict consideration on Articles 20 through 24. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Vote in the affirmative, and I so declare it. Article 25, to see if the town vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $50,000 for the purpose of funding the following capital items for fiscal year 22-23. Fire Department portable radios, $30,000. Highway Department equipment replacement and repairs, $20,000. Do I have a motion? Is there a second? Discussion. I'm going to get you roller skates.
I know. Thank you, Amy Lee. Last year, we awarded $25,000 for portable radios to the fire department. So what happened to those radios?
So thank you for your question. This is year 2 of a 3-year replacement program to replace 30 portable radios. So last year we bought 10. This year they're up $500 a piece, and we're buying 10 more. And if we have enough call people left, we'll buy 10 more next year.
Is there any other discussion? Are you ready for the question? All those in favor of Article 25 as read will signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Vote in the affirmative. Capital reserve deposits, to see if the town to vote to add to the existing capital reserve fund under the provisions of RSA 35:1 for the following purpose: to raise and appropriate the respective sum totaling $5,000 to be placed in said funds. Conservation Commission Capital Reserve, $5,000. Do I have a motion? Second. Moved and seconded. Discussion. All those in favor of Article 26 as read will signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Vote in the affirmative, and I so declare it. To establish a capital reserve fund for infrastructure. To see if the town will vote to establish a capital reserve fund under provisions of RSA 35:1 for the purpose of the town matching share of grant money received for infrastructure and road projects, and to raise and appropriate $50,000 sum to be placed in the fund, and further to name the select board as agents to expend the said fund. Do I have a motion? Is there a second? Discussion. All those in favor of Article 27 as read will signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Vote in the affirmative, and I so declare it. Article 28, to see if the town to vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $80,586,000 for the purpose of funding the following nonprofit health agencies: Pemmy Baker Home Health and Hospice, $15,500. Genesis Lakes Region Mental Health Agency, $7,500. Transport Central, $1,000. Grafton County Senior Citizens, $15,570. Tri-County Community Action, $7,646. Voices Against Violence, $4,000. American Red Cross, $2,000. Pemmy Youth Center, $8,000. Katy Communities for Alcohol and Drug-Free Use, $8,300. Case Casa Court Appointed Child Advocates, $1,000. Pemmy Bridge House, $10,000. Do I have a motion? Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? She's got the roller skates on, John. John, she's got the roller skates on. You're not going to catch her.
So my question is didn't Pemmy Baker Home Health and Hospice get bought out by Mid-State Health Center?
Can I help out?
Yep.
I'm Katie Hedberg, and I'm a nurse practitioner at Mid-State. The PT and OT have moved over to Mid-State Health, and Pemmy Baker is focusing solely on their home health and hospice. So it's just a shift of the rehab services seem to fit better with the outpatient medical services.
Go ahead, John.
Mr. Moderator, John Randlett, I would like to make a motion to reduce this to all of these units by 50%. I mean, I understand they need it, but you know, some of these places, they double dip. They get it from the county, they get it from the state, they get it different areas, and you know, someplace we have to draw a line, and you know, I don't have an endless pocket. None of us do, and it's great, but I think enough is enough.
Okay, there's an amendment to reduce it by 50%. That would make the number $40,293 instead of $80,586. It's been moved and seconded as an amendment. Discussion on the amendment.
I would just like to comment that the nonprofit and health agencies that are listed in the money that's given to them, the amount that the town provides is offset by the services that those agencies provide to the town. Savings in police, savings in welfare, savings in a number of different areas. So I think that this is actually spending this money for the nonprofits, saves the town money in what we have to spend on other services.
Go ahead.
I think the effect is 0.16 for us, which is pretty much nothing. So I think to have a big argument about what, you know, we're paying the nonprofits is pretty ridiculous. I think we should support the nonprofits. I do think that, or I have the question that, you know, I know we have a very organized committee that doles out these, you know, recommends these payments that we give to the nonprofits, and I'm sure they have requests that come in. I wonder, do these requests also go to the surrounding towns from these nonprofits? And do they succeed in receiving funds from other towns? Do we know the percentages?
Could I speak to that, Bob?
I can't tell you percentages, but I know this is on warrant articles in just about all the towns in the area.
So, Bob, so I'm also the executive director of Transport Central, and we do pursue funds from other towns as well. The majority of towns that we apply for funds don't contribute, even though we give them more in-kind usage of transporting any person over 60 years of age or has a disability. So we're basically trying to recoup costs that we expend. And for those towns that kind of like short us, we kind of eat the costs and try to pursue other avenues, but,
Thank you.
Yep. Go ahead, you first, and then Mike.
Hi, sorry, I'm Eileen Town. I'm a resident of Plymouth 30-plus years and a former employee of the town of Plymouth. And I just wanted to say a couple things. One, first of all, I was previously the welfare director for the town. And the nonprofits that are listed here, a lot of them provide a great value for the amount of money that you're paying out in terms of what you might otherwise pay and in costs through your welfare budget. Pemmy Baker Home Health, Bridge House in particular, the homeless shelter puts a lot of people up that you might otherwise be paying motel bills for. Transport Central, a lot of these nonprofits provide great services for the town, and I think it's money well spent to support these organizations. And I do understand, I'm a property owner here in town too, and I just about fell over when I saw my tax bills. So I do understand people's need to reduce their taxes. But one of the things I wanted to point out when I looked at my tax bill, and it was pointed out to me when I was gasping for breath, that the vast majority of the increase that we're seeing in our taxes is not an increase from the town, it's from the school district. And at least that's my understanding. I'm sure somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's 70-something% of the increase we saw this year is due to the schools, as opposed to the money that's being raised for the town. So I agree that the taxes are crazy high. I agree that it's a big strain on everyone. I think maybe we all need to pay better attention during the budget process and at the school deliberative sessions in years to come if we're really concerned about how high our taxes are. So.
You're all set? Okay. Any other? Go ahead, John.
John Randlett, and I'd like to say it one more time. I'm on the board of directors of a nonprofit. We rent a place so the landlord pays. We get donations. We never ask the town for a dime, and these other organizations can do the same thing. If there are people that want to support them, we have people that can give $10,000, $15,000 to help fund equipment and stuff like that. And that's what these nonprofits need to do. They need to get with the people. And if you support it and believe it and you have the extra money, do it.
Okay, further discussion on the amendment. Go ahead.
Good evening, friends. This is fun, so I wanted to keep the conversation going. My name is Jess Dutel. I've had the great pleasure of living in Plymouth for 22 years now.
Wow.
And I just want to speak out against the amendment and for this article in support of all of the amazing nonprofits that we have in this community who do great work. As it was already pointed out, they actually save us money. Investing in this way and supporting these social service agencies actually saves us money in the long run. I have the great privilege of serving as the board president for the PEMU Center, and not all nonprofits have the opportunity to just fundraise all the money. In fact, because of the many services that we have, we typically compete for the funds. And so it is really important, and we're really grateful for the support of the town. In the case of the PEMU Center, we actually provide a completely free service to this community and offer a meal to our middle school and high school youth participants on a daily basis, many of whom would otherwise not have a meal. So these services are incredibly important, and I appreciate the town's support over so many years in terms of the great work happening.
Is there any other discussion? Are you ready for the question on the amendment? And the amendment is to cut the amount by 50% and make it $40,293. All those in favor of the amendment will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Nay. Are you ready for the main article? All those in favor of Article 28 as it read originally with a full number of $80,586 will signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay.
Nay.
Vote in the affirmative, and I so declare it. Article 29, solar array transfer station. See if the town would vote to offer direction to the select board to, number one, appoint the Plymouth Energy Commission to launch a request for a proposal process for solar contractors for the construction of an approximate 140 kilowatt grid tied solar electric array on town qualified property to offset municipal building power usage, and two, to allow the Plymouth Energy Commission to establish a capital campaign through loans, grants, and other bonds, as well to obtain and accept federal, state, or other available aids for this project. This was by petition, correct? No? This was not by petition, I'm sorry. All right. May I have a motion? Is there a second? Do I have somebody to speak to this? There she is.
First of all, I want to thank everybody for being here so late, so I won't take a lot of time. My name's Irene Grace Garvey. I'm the chair of the Plymouth Energy Commission, and all other members are here as well tonight. Our job in the commission is to research and promote and report to the select board about sustainable and sound energy opportunities and environmental practices that would benefit the town and the citizens of Plymouth. We focus specifically on reducing energy consumption by way of saving money and weatherization, things like that, and decrease our reliance on non-renewable energy sources. In keeping with our charge as the Energy Commission, we are presenting this warrant, and it's essentially to develop and move forward some work that started back in 2015 by the Plymouth Energy Commission as a way to offset the municipal power demands by the municipal buildings. So if passed, as the warrant points out, we would first engage with solar contractors for proposals. We would establish a location or maybe several locations for our solar arrays. We haven't really lighted on one array, or maybe one array with also the opportunity for an array or two on buildings that the municipal departments operate out of. And then we would find fiscally responsible ways to fund the solar array to offset the municipal power demands. We would take all of that information back to the select board and back to the town. So we're not asking for money tonight. I'm sure you're happy to hear that. So it would be a proposal that would be put back in front of the town and the select board at a later date. So this is really just to develop what we started back in 2015. A lot of other communities have done this. I mean, just to name a few: Webster, Shelburne, Moultonborough, Hanover, Meredith. I won't go on and on, but there's a huge list of other towns that have taken advantage of or put it to use non-renewable resources to power municipal buildings. Also, the town has recognized Plymouth they adopted a resolution to recognize Plymouth as a destination for environmental studies and ecotourism. This is also something that the Plymouth Energy Commission feels is in keeping with the 2018 master plan, which explicitly says that we should actively explore and present to the Select Board renewable energy possibilities on town-owned property, and also to continue a strong and viable commitment to energy efficiency and sustainability. So I guess what we're saying is we think this is a perfect time to present this proposal back to the town. Again, just to research it a little further and develop it from here. We believe in the long run it will absolutely save taxpayer monies, and we could certainly provide data from other towns and other solar arrays that have been established in terms of cost savings if folks want more details about that in the future. But we're just asking for your support tonight. Any questions?
Go ahead.
And Maggie Mumford, who's also on the Select Board, the Plymouth Energy Commission, is going to help field questions tonight too. She's with us.
Hi, thank you. Sounds like a great and exciting possibility. My name is Marcia Schmidt-Blaine. My question is this going to be too late to take advantage of any federal money, such as the infrastructure bill that was just passed? And in a general sense, is the town getting any money from any of the federal acts that have just been, like the Infrastructure Act or the ARP Act?
Maggie Mumford, almost 50 years now in town. And we are hoping to pursue funding from the Rural Energy Pilot Program, which is part of the recent infrastructure bill through the USDA. And indeed, we're hoping that that could provide major funding. That's only one of the sources, but that is a potential source for us that we're looking for.
Mr. Sandman?
Thank you to the Plymouth Energy Commission for not asking for money tonight. I just had one question, and I don't know if it's for the Energy Commission or for the Select Board, but it says town qualified property. Is that town owned or is it town approved property? I guess is the question I had there.
Our understanding of town qualified property would be property that is either owned by the town now, or there can be some mutually agreeable lease arrangement to place a solar array either upon roof or roofs or a ground mount.
Is there any other discussion? Go ahead, Mr. Ahern. The other one.
So Mike Ahern, we discussed a solar array with the Select Board probably 3 years ago, and we didn't find a profitable way for the town to save money with the solar array at that time. But since then, I've learned a lot of new information, and I don't think green energy is bad. I think green energy has a place. But from my research, and it's very interesting, the main source or the source for the raw earth materials to make the solar array come from China. And the method to mine these rare earths are explosions on land, many, many explosions. And when that mine is going to be done, and it is only a finite number of resources to make solar arrays, it's not made out of sand and glass like we think. It's rare earths. And that mine in China, when it's done, and all those individuals that work that mine are working with that toxic substance. And I can just imagine what their life will be when they're done and put their useful life into that mine. But that land will be a toxic site for the rest of eternity. And so I worry about those things and not having those materials well into the future. NASA has a solar array on their equipment when it goes into space. And per square inch, a solar array could cost $1 million. What we're looking at here, if most of you don't have the information on what goes into a solar array, I suggest there is a very good resource by the individual named of Michael Moore and his friend Jeffrey Gibbs, who produced a 1 hour, almost a full 2 hour YouTube movie on it. And many individuals in government and throughout the entire world tried their hardest to get that movie suppressed and where no one could see it. They sued him, and he fought back. He's made that movie, that YouTube video, available for anybody to see for free. If you can, it's called Planet of the Humans. And if you want to, I'd even give, I don't know if I can give out my phone number if people would spam it, but I'd give out my phone number if it's okay with the moderator, so that you could text me, I would text it to you, you could watch it on your phone for free.
I would ask you to individually ask him, don't broadcast a phone number because we're being broadcast live.
Go to my website if you want. Everybody knows I work for Glove Hollow Christmas Tree Farm. I own it. If you email me through that site, I will send you a copy of that movie. You will most likely be crying or in tears by the end of the movie. It's very moving. But the information in that is something that we all need to know before we go ahead and just start putting solar arrays. Solar arrays are very new in this country, relatively new. And you can't just recycle these solar arrays. They're going to take up landfills. And the other thing that they didn't tell the select board back when I served was, what was the cost going to be to dismantle it? There was a cost to maintain it, and the town employees would have had to go out there and maintain and cut the brush around it, do all those things. But there is going to be a cost, and those solar arrays are just starting to go into our landfills now. And you can imagine how much there will be of non-recyclable, toxic materials going in to our landfills. The supply is not infinite. So that's my spiel. I suggest green energy can be good, but this I'm really nervous about, and the cost that could be on the town for in 15 years. It gives some electricity for the first 7, and then it depletes. By the 15 years, it's probably done. And those rare earths, once we're done the good stuff that's in the mine in China, then we go to the next mine, and it's not going to be as pure. But those are rare earths. We need to think about that. Planet of the Humans by Michael Moore.
Go ahead.
I'd like to correct some misinformation, and that is that in general, solar arrays are guaranteed for 25 years at 80% efficiency at the end of the 25th year. They can work for a lot longer. Yes, there is some concern that we will have waste. However, there are recycling agencies starting up. That is a booming business right now, repurposing solar arrays to a lesser use, for instance, electric charging of cars, of electric vehicles. And that is a booming business where perhaps the second 25 years of life for a solar array could be in that use. The biggest problem with hazardous waste is actually probably going to be lithium-ion batteries, and that we are planning grid-tied array, which does not use battery storage. I think we all recognize that there does need to be a transition, both for energy independence and to deal with climate change. We are talking about a reasonable solution. We're talking about installation of an array or arrays that will help defray the cost to the town. Solar arrays have minimal moving parts, and basically the only maintenance is mowing. There can occasionally be an inverter failure, but that takes a replacement maybe once every 7 to 11 years. These can be bought from Canadian companies or American companies. There are multiple tiers of quality that you can purchase with multiple different levels of guarantee of performance. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Unless somebody moves the question, I'm going to recognize him. Too late, he's on his way up. You're limited to 2 minutes. You're not going to give another 10-minute speech.
This will be really quick. The amount of money that is going to China to produce these, to get the rare earths, is quite substantial. There are a lot of people making a lot of money off of these solar arrays. The Koch brothers and a few others, Goldman Sachs. There's a lot of people making billions and billions of dollars off this industry.
You don't have to move the question. I'm going to call it right now anyways. All those, of course, you caught me when I was eating chocolate because I told him 2 minutes and he didn't give me my 2 minutes. All those in favor of Article 29 as read will signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Nay. It is a strong vote in the affirmative, and I so declare it. Article 30, any other business to come before this meeting?
Mr. Moderator?
Yes.
Can I, Ted Wisniewski, can I move to restrict reconsideration of warrant articles?
We're restricting consideration on Articles
25 through 29.
25 through 29. All those in favor of restricting... Now I've lost my whole train of thought.
Restricting
consideration on Articles 25 through 29. See what chocolate does? All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Vote in the affirmative, and I so declare it. Mr. Kent.
Yes, I'd like to say a couple of things. A lot of people have talked about nonprofits and the impact which nonprofits have on our community. I'm going to ask the moderator if he would take a sense of the meeting. And the sense would ask that the selectmen work with our legislators to work to get some legislation proposal which would allow towns to bill for services rendered against nonprofits.
Sense of the meeting, do you think that's something you'd like to have us do? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. That sounds like you get the message, guys. Do you have something, Mr. Morehead?
Dave Morehead. I'm wondering, is there any way the select board can say no more tax-free organizations in the town of Plymouth? I mean, we got a hospital that has bought up, about a dozen buildings, and that's all going to be tax-free. Well, we've got 17 churches, they're all tax-free. We got all of Plymouth State College, they do contribute some, but it's tax-free. And it's bought up a whole lot of other buildings which are now all exempt. 51% of this town is tax exempt. It's getting a bit steep.
I think you've been heard, Dave. All right.
Thank you.
So guess what?
It's 9:22.
Mickey says it's 9:22. I call the meeting over. We're adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.